What up, man?
What's up, dude?
Oh, okay. Um, we just did an awesome ice bath session.
How about that ice bath?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I felt like the buoyancy of the of the ice in the water was perfect. And it felt good, baby. Got a nice
I dare say that was my favorite ice bath of all time. Honestly, I was in there, and a lot of times, I get in there and there's that like suffering.
Yeah.
Like I just try not to suffer, but dude, it's hard.
Yeah.
I feel like this time I was in there and I was just like, bam,
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm about to boil this thing. I just felt really good. I don't know why. I think a lot of it was the workout I did prior. I didn't crush myself.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll get I'll get in on a Saturday and just crush my legs, and I feel like a lot of my willpower is done, and then I get in the ice bath and it makes it harder. But I feel like I just kind of like, I kept it low and slow today, and I just I had just my faculties there.
Yeah.
It felt really good.
It felt very well, so I haven't done ice in maybe week and a half, 2 weeks. And this one, I had a little bit of internal resistance, but when I got in, it was just like, I got this, It still was cold as shit, 33 degrees, but it reminded me of, because I've been doing ice baths in the Hive, so I haven't been doing them in the ice bath in the back. And that's kind of how our friendship began. Jay Azeltine,
Shout out to Jungle Jay.
yeah. I started following Jay on Twitter before I moved to Austin. Met him in our apartment complex and went to a community, or not a community, but a park workout. And he actually, it might have been before I went to my first park workout with him and other men, but he just knew instantly. He was like, I've got a friend of mine that I think you would click with. Exactly along those lines, that's what he said. Because I think I was into Bitcoin and you were too.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me your number, and I was in my apartment. It was empty still. Like I was still getting things put together. And I was a little nervous at the time. I just moved and I don't know anybody here. I have work friends, but alongside those work friends, at that moment, I didn't really have many. I was brand new to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So Jay introducing me to you was, a blessing. And we've grown our friendship through all the various spheres of like culture in a way. So Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
we've gone to the Bitcoin Commons where the company I work for, Unchained, hosts some public social events that is centered around Bitcoin, but also through Squatch, and then just personally, we're good friends. We've had some great moments with each other, and I really appreciate your friendship, and you've been
Likewise, bro.
yeah,
for sure.
You've been very impactful for my growth as a man, and I wanted to get you on and just kind of shoot the shit and just talk about life. It's been September will be 2 years in Austin for me, so it hasn't even been 2 years, but it feels sometimes like a lifetime. It feels like it's been a while.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot in those 2 years, and I remember, like it. I'm super stoked to be on, but I remember when I first met you, you were kind of like a string bean, like
Yeah.
You were super skinny. And I look at you now and like, I don't know how much weight you put on, but dude, got guns. And you remember those times, some of my favorite times were 6:30 in the morning, me, you, Nate, Jay,
Yep.
just in there grinding and Squatch. That's when I first joined Squatch. Jay was like, you got to come to this gym.
Yeah.
It's a great gym.
Yeah.
And I just started coming. Me, you, and Nate were there. We were all getting swole. We were all running the perfecting percentages. Zach Hummel program.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I just feel like those times were so fun.
That was incremental.
Very formative for me too, because I know you were going through lots of growth in that time, but for me, I had never participated in the gym in that manner.
Mm-hmm.
I'd always been very, well, I'm going to walk in. I don't know what I'm going to do. My background, I've lifted weights a ton playing sports, but you know, I didn't have a direction. Once sports decoupled from fitness, I didn't really have a direction. And I remember I got COVID in like January of 22 or something.
Okay.
And I, you know, it wasn't bad or anything, but you know, I just looked in the mirror. I got to Squatch a couple days later, looked in the mirror and I was like, man, I'm just skinny, dude. Skinny. What's going on here? I didn't like what I saw. And so I texted Zach and was like, I want to gain some weight. And he goes, I got something for you. And he sent me that workout program. And then me, you, and Nate ran that, you know, for months and months. And that is when the gym turned into something more than just a place where I work out. And it was, Arnold's got this quote that I love that he talks about, you can use your mind to sculpt your body. And that's what was really happening in those moments. So for me, that was a very formative time, because what I realized is that's when I started to look at the gym in a different form of like, this is where I can come to it's not just about my body here. This is where I'm making I'm connecting the mind and the body, and I'm making my mind stronger in the process while I'm physically doing work. You know, on the surface, somebody may think, and I talk to people about this a lot. I just talk about going to the gym. You got to go to the gym. That's where your solutions start.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's money, relationships, job, your old lady's mad at you, you got kids, they're acting crazy. It just breaks you out of this state. And that's what I loved and appreciated about it, because the thing about when me and Nate were going there, and I'm still like this to this day, it doesn't matter if I'm tired. It doesn't matter if I'm feeling like crap, I'm sore. I went 5 days in a row. It doesn't matter. I'm going to the gym because this is what I do. Because at this point, if you took it away from me, I don't know what I would do, because I feel like I'm on fire. You know, we just did that workout, did an ice bath. I mean, I feel like a G, you know, it's great. It's like people, you know, they ask me like, well, you work out so much. Like, why? I'm like, have you
gone?
Take a taste of this. I got something here for you.
Yeah. Well said. The gym. So beginning of 2022, that's when we started to go with each other. Myself, you, Nate, and Jay. And Jay started kind of, you know, he's doing his own thing. So at times it was just the three of us. And that was very, formative for me as well. Because of being new to Austin, not having as many friends. And so for me, I haven't been a gym rat. And I went to the gym in college and high school at times, but never really consistently. And so the two of you being alongside of me was incremental for holding accountability. And then that accountability, it made it fun to go to the gym.
Yeah,
right?
It was fun, right?
And so like, even though I didn't really want to go sometimes, or a good amount of the times, or do the ice baths, I still went because of that accountability factor. And now, because we've done it so consistently for it's been over a year. Well, the three of us, it was, I don't know, maybe half a year together doing it. And man, I mean, now it's like I don't need people to work out with, you know what I'm saying? Like I can still go by myself and consistently. And before that was a struggle. Like it was a struggle to just go on my own. And now it's like, this is a way of life, you know? And yeah, when people look around you and maybe you're on the outside and they see you're going 5 to 6 days a week, for me, it is mind and body. It is mind and body and alignment with your soul, actually, in a way. And exercise just, physiologically, if you go break it down from a scientific level, it's just so good for you and your brain. And if you have like issues with fear and anxiety or depression, or, you know, going to the gym is just like the best way to step forward in a strong manner, right? With anything in life. So yeah, you guys were extremely impactful, and you still are. We like, you know, we all went to the park workout this Thursday. We all
that was fun, right? Think
was
about that competition.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that yesterday, because the level of energy I had after that yesterday and even this morning was well above my normal, which is high energy.
Yeah.
You know, I try to keep myself, I have a high motor. I take pride in that. But that competition that we did at the park, that was fun, right?
Yeah.
Like we were all slapping hands, doing a little race. I feel like as guys, that's what we need.
Yeah.
Think about when we got on the ice today. Ooh, fired up, dude. You can't, I mean, that's the moments when I think about the things that I crave and the things that I love. It's those moments where you access something primal. You know, you're in that ice and it's cold. You're thinking about when's the timer coming up. I'm thinking, man, did Shane set this thing for 4 minutes? I thought we were doing 3. You know, what's going on? But we're both sitting there. We're not, you know, we're both being tranquil and calm. And then you get out and then you just give a little flex and just ready. Give you a little macho man. You know, like you're just that. You're accessing, at least for me, I'm accessing something that I don't get very often. And I feel like it's hard to get unless you're competing. And in the ice, you're competing against yourself. At the park workout, we were competing against each other. If you think about it, what I think about is moments where I love sports. So like I love to see a team win a championship in the way they react. They're so emotional because the journey that they went through was very difficult, and they're accessing that emotion. And that's what I feel like we're tapping into when we're doing the ice bath, when we're doing the competitions. And I love that. I can't get enough of that. And for me, that's huge. So I'm always trying to tap into that at some point.
Yeah. There's something to, men having such a deep instinct for a sense of purpose with other like-minded men and competition and pushing yourself. Like there's something to how we're built, you know, genetically. I feel like you can't avoid it, at least for me and for you and most men. Having a deep sense of purpose, community, other men, and pushing yourself, it's what brings everything together. It's like the force of your life is just almost like one. When you have that sense of purpose and you're challenging yourself. And so, yeah, even through the competition at the park workout, but then at the end or close to the end, and Jay has done this too. Jay's currently training, crushing it, training for his Ironman.
Probably just being brutalized right now.
120 miles on the bike.
A 30-mile run. I'm just like, Jay, come on,
this shit's crazy. He's a fucking champ. But you know, Aaron led this one, and we do allow, and Jay has allowed moments for us to be vulnerable, where in modern society, this isn't always accepted. It's not really prevalent to allow these opportunities to speak amongst other men and say what you're pumped for, but also what's challenging you. Like certain people at the park workout, like going through a divorce or something super, like he seemed pretty happy about it. Like he's almost done with it. But at the same time, like, you know, there are moments where you sit there and, man, I will never get it out of my head. It's just like pierced into my memory. One of the park workouts that we did, it was during the winter. It was 50 something degrees out, raining, thundering and lightning. We had like 9 guys show up, and all I can remember, it was just like such a movie cinema clip. It was Jay just looking around at all of us as it was like raining, cold. And he goes, life can be hard. And then a bolt of lightning. As he said that, fucking.
I think I was there. I'm
were
pretty
you
sure
there?
I was there.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I got chills as he said that, and I saw that. I was like, oh shit, all right.
Yeah.
And life can be challenging. There are waves, you know. And doing these things that we're doing, what we did before this recording, what we did at the park workout, allows for us to be, I don't know, like in a way, there's less fear towards your actions, right? It's almost like, man, I'm straying away from what I was going to continue with, but
you're not a prisoner of your own thoughts at this point, because we all have negative thoughts. You know, I don't wake up every morning thinking it's rainbows and sunshine, you know, but I also know that that's just, I don't know what evolutionarily makes that happen, but I don't try to get too deep into it. I've gotten better at that. You know, I think previously, you know, I would have these arguments with my thoughts.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out there defending myself in my head. I don't even defend myself anymore. Now I'm just like, next, let's get a new one.
Yeah.
And I've even become now more of like, you know, something negative comes in and I just focus on what I'm trying to do. Just back to the process. What am I trying to do? What I got to get done today?
Yeah.
Where's my goal? Where's my focus at? Who cares? Next idea. Next. That one's dog shit. Next. This one's good. We'll stay here for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just that mental fortitude, because what happens is it's a negative feedback loop. When you give up, and you becomes a habit. Like giving up can become a habit.
Yeah.
You just pack it in. I'm sore today. I'm not going to work out. And then you wake up the next day. Well, I'm tired today. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I ain't going to work out. I'm not going to do my duties, my job. I'm not going to do what I need to do.
And there's something scary to, like, if you do it 2 times in a row, it could tumble.
Yes.
You know, if you give up, you don't go to the gym 2 times in a row, or whatever habit, it could tumble and you just don't go back to it.
We also, I think we don't really give our bodies enough credit of how adaptive they are and what they can withstand. And I'll give you an example of this. If I stopped working out for like 2 weeks, I guarantee you I would have muscle aches.
Yep.
I would pull something. Whereas now I feel great, but some people may say, well, Chris, you got to rest. And I hear this, one of my favorite people is Cam Hanes, and people, you know, he's in his 50s and he's
a fucking beast.
People tell him, Cam, how are you running these ultra marathons? You're old, you're lifting every day. What are you doing? Your body's going to break down. And his thing that he always says is, guys, I mean, when I work out, everything's great. And when I stop, that's when it starts to break down.
Yeah.
And I think what's happening is his body is constantly just putting it's making sure that it's ready. It's always getting ready. And then when you take the foot off the gas, I mean, everyone needs rest. I'm not advocating for rest. I take care of my rest very seriously, but I don't think of it as I need to take 2 weeks off for X, Y, Z, because I think if I did that, you just lose momentum, and then your body is now regressing, because ultimately we're all conserving energy as humans. That's an adaptability thing. We're conserving mental energy, so we don't want to think. We're conserving physical energy. These are our natural inclinations, and if we don't fight them consciously, then we'll just be blobs on the couch, you know?
Especially in today's world and in America, right?
For sure.
And to go back towards, you know, being able to step towards maybe fearful, challenging moments easier, maybe not. It feels more effortless when you do what we're doing. And I'm trying to remember his name. His last name's Laird. He's a big surfer.
Laird Hamilton.
Laird Hamilton, yep. I listened to him speak to Aaron Alexander recently on a podcast. And Aaron commented on the fact that he is just built for being in the chaos, being in chaotic moments. And it was really fascinating to listen to Laird say this. He was like, listen, I'm from Hawaii, and I used to surf at a young age. And there was times where there was riptide. And the first time he got into the riptide, he was struggling. This actually happened to me. My first time ever being in a riptide was in Costa Rica. I've never had a strong.
Yeah, they're pretty strong there.
They're pretty strong there, and it was scary. And because you lose control, like you just get sucked into the wave, right? And so Laird goes, yeah, the first time it happened when I was like a kid, it was fucking scary. And I struggled because there was no friends around. And he said it just like it kept happening. And what he realizes as it kept happening is like the best option moving forward is to be calm.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other more efficient and optimal way to go forward, but being calm and just acting in the best possible way to get yourself out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're fucking super anxious, oh my God, I'm in a riptide, I can't get out. And like you're physiologically, you are like, you're wasting more energy.
Yeah, you're tight. You're
fucking
tense.
tight. Yeah.
Think about getting in an ice bath like that. So you're going to have a shit.
Oh yeah. I see people all the time. They fucking put their feet up and their hands up. Like they don't put, and they're just like, oh my God.
They're just
oh my
one
God,
muscle.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you're just panicking.
And it's just like, you know, I get it because my first couple of times when I was going with you guys, I fucking hated it. But I fully immersed in too. It was funny, like the second time I ever did it with you guys, the night before I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be doing this ice bath.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
great,
like,
dude.
I fucking hated it. And now I love it. But there's something to men being like immersed into chaos at times and being able to put things in order. It's like a way of, I mean, that's just a way I think, you know, I've got a
that's
book.
a man's duty in the world is to create order out of chaos. You know, like that's really what we bring as men is we're trying to push the world in a better place. And you can't do that if you're constantly caving into your own anxiety, physical, mental, what have you. You know, so Laird realized that he couldn't get out of the riptide without slowing down, being smooth. It's the same thing in life. It doesn't matter if you're trying to, you know, get through a conflict situation. It could be a conflict at work. It could be a conflict at home. The only way to resolve it is through being present, being calm. If you try to tick it up a notch, it almost always just goes off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's, you know, I think ultimately it's, if I was to say there's one thing that I'm trying to get better at constantly, it's how can I have more resolve, less anxiety, and just be more centered when their conflict arises. I think that's what really came to be for me in 2021 when I started going on, you know, I'd always been in personal development, but I really started to gear it more towards doing hard things, leadership, those type of aspects, putting myself in really uncomfortable situations. And the goal of that was always to be a more centered person and to deal with this chaos that I knew was coming, that I was constantly seeing, but maybe before backing away from. And I think the more that you can embrace and step into that chaos and be calm and be that calming, soothing hand, play that leadership role, I think that's where really it becomes rewarding. You can build communities like that. You can become a leader in whatever aspect of your life. Could be your family, could be your business, could be at work. You know, that's where people start to gravitate to you in that moment because they are feeling the same anxiety that you're feeling, but you're not shying away from it. You're just saying, no, I'm here. This is what I'm here for.
Yeah, there's that silent, you mentioned like a week ago, it's like silent confidence when it comes to wherever. I mean, being in front of women or like romantically or just in general, like people can see it, they can feel it. And that takes time. I mean, I definitely still feel like I'm developing that. And in 2021, yeah, man, the internal chaos that I had was due to the comfortable aspects of society and kind of just reinforcing staying comfortable, as well as more having the ability to reflect and observe some of the difficult things I've gone through in life and not giving open space and time to reflect on those things and process them in a more healthy way. And so once you do that, and then you also just kind of immerse yourself into challenging yourself physically, mentally, spiritually.
If you also think about it like this, I realized the other day when we were at the park that there was a new guy, and we were talking about bear crawling, and I was like, yeah, I haven't bear crawled in a while. And so was like, yeah, I haven't either. And then I said, but I've bear crawled a 5K. And when I said that, that dude looked at me. He was like, you did what? I was like, yeah, I bear crawled a 5K. And I think about that, you know, obviously in the moment, that was not fun.
Yeah.
But I look back on that with such pride.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you if there's a couple things that I could put on my life resume, I mean, bear crawling a 5K, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's hard.
That's just crazy.
And I look at that, and those are the moments that I think it's if you listen to guys that have been in the military, they talk about the moments, they look back on them with a lot of, you know, the positive vibes, right? Like you think, how is it positive? You're getting shot at, you're shooting people, you're in a war zone, it's chaos. Well, they went through this difficult time together. They had camaraderie. So, you know, when I bear crawled that 5K, it was me, Jay, Danny Aguirre, and Dre. We had camaraderie. We did it. We made it. And now we can look back at it as just, dude, it's like a trophy on the trophy case.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and now we can, and I think for me, I take great pride in doing those things like that, because I put myself in a situation. I remember I had a lot of anxiety going into that, thinking about it. Me and Jay put a date on the calendar. He'd been talking about it for months. And finally I just said, why don't we just do it? Let's just do it. And I remember I had anxiety leading up to it for the whole week. I even did little bit of training, and that was just brutal. And I just thought, man, I don't know what to do. You really can't train for it that much.
No.
And we just sat there and we just grinded it out.
Yeah, it's kind of
and it felt so great afterwards.
Yeah.
We got it done. I remember there's a picture of me and Jay's sitting on a cooler. I'm kneeling down next to it. We look like a disaster. I mean, just like a fit, like both of us are just, we're not smiling.
Yeah.
You know, but it was funny. It's funny to look back on now. It's like, oh, it's in the past.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
Did that thing. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? Shit. Yeah. It's like the sweat lodge. You can't prepare for that shit.
For sure. No.
You can try. I did like 50 minutes in the hive, maybe a couple weeks ago.
That's a long, 50 minutes.
A couple weeks prior to the March retreat. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's usually around like 200 degrees in that one too. Like, so that was tough. But I mean, that's 1/3 of the time. Granted, it's not as hot in the sweat lodge, but you're just like for 50 minutes and 200 degrees. And it's like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah, your mind's like, get out. What are you doing?
Yeah, why the
get
fuck
out
are
of
you
here? Why are you here?
Yeah. And you know how many times that happens when you're in the sweat lodge too? It's like,
yeah, dude.
your ego, your mind is like, what are you doing? Get out, get out, get out. And it keeps happening. It's a training of like, no. It's like taking a breath every single time that happens. And it's like such a powerful way to come back and be centered, in my experience at least, because you're in there and you're not getting out until Camilo says, you know, the fourth door. You know,
and
like,
yeah, I remember having anxiety. The sweat lodge is what I had the most anxiety about going into to Jay's retreat.
I actually wasn't that nervous about the ayahuasca, and I was more nervous for the sweat lodge. And I think I'm going to the October retreat, and I think it's still the same as it approaches. It's kind of the same feeling. It's like, sweat lodge is fucking hard, man. I was next to Dylan too, and Dylan wrote a beautiful Substack on it, but he was like, this was the most challenging thing that I've ever done. It was so fucking hard. And we both were just like, at one point we laid down in the sweat lodge. And it was just like, oh my God, this fucking sucks. You know, it's a huge challenge.
You know, what I like about those challenges is I like to feel the anxiety. I like to feel the uncomfortableness of what if I don't make it. The bear crawl was what if I don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Sweat lodge, what if I don't make it. Those are the type of things. I remember going into that sweat lodge. Jay had been telling me about it for months. He's like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. He's just prepping me for it. I was like, okay, I'm not going to break. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to sit there and I'm not going to break. And I remember thinking, I was like, I'm not going to break. Second door comes in. I'm not breaking. I'm not breaking. It also helped. I was sitting next to like a 50-year-old woman who is so stoic.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting there like a G. I'm telling you, I mean, this woman there's levels. Okay. This woman was obviously far and above my level.
She probably did it a few times too.
Yeah. She's probably done it a few.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm just thinking, not going to break. Third door comes. It's starting to get hard now.
Yeah.
And I remember the last 30 minutes just like, you know, that's when my mind really started chirping me. And I'm looking across at Jay, and Jay's being stoic. The guy next to me he's going through all kinds of stuff. You know, woman next to me, she's a G. She don't even care. This is nothing. This is a Tuesday for her. But I was like, I'm not going to break. I'm not going to break. Because at the end of the day, you know it's going to be over.
Yep.
It's going to pass.
Yeah.
It's going to be over. We're going to go crush some cheeseburgers afterwards. We'll hop in the river, go crush a cheeseburger.
Hop in the river.
And that's what, like, you know, I can look back on it fondly.
Dude, it was amazing. Yeah.
Because that's the thing that's the test. And the sweat lodge was made as a rite of passage to put you through that test.
You literally feel like you shed a layer of who you were.
Yes.
That's how I felt. It was like I literally dropped a part of me that was like a child form of me. It was like you just did something fucking so hard. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
And that's a credit to you because most people will never know that level of just chaos in your mind, uncomfortableness. And guess what? That's a plaque on your wall. You're just like, oh yeah, you think this is hard? Well, go down to the jungle, sit in a Temescal for 3 hours and try that.
Yeah.
And that's because nothing you're going to face in the outside world is going to be that hard.
Most likely. Yeah.
So everything now is
physically,
just, hey, this is whatever.
Yeah, I think there's like probably different, more unique, difficult scenarios. Like that's definitely without a doubt the most physical, challenging thing. Yes. And then mentally, there's still other environments that I put myself in. I'm like, I still find more fear than I should have, I feel like, with public speaking. You know, there's something to it. It's part of my family too. Like I've been reflecting on my, you know, ancestors and how there was like such a Italian kind of like people pleaser mentality, and that was just the way of life, right? And then also just they are Italian, but they were in America, and you know they survived off of social relationships, their neighbors, right? Times of the Great Depression and all of that. But then it some family members at least, it evolved in a way that was like unhealthy. It was lashing out and like it was keeping up with the Jones and like really kind of just lustful maybe in a way. And I think that's where part of my fear comes from. It's like the maybe the external validation from so many eyes, and also maybe like back in the day when you're hunting tigers, you know, and you see a sense of eyes on you too. It could be a combination of things, but that's something that
you're vulnerable. You're up and if you say something wild, the crowd could revolt.
Yeah, right.
You know?
And but yeah, I mean, so the Temescal for 3 hours, like physically, it's like, you know, I go in the sauna nowadays and I'll stay in there, but I see people the second they get in and they're just like fucking chugging their water like repeatedly, like every 30 seconds, like I'm just like, man, this ain't shit. No. But yeah, I think that even that physical challenge, you know, something I think subconsciously that I've maybe considered is Chris Williamson says this, like chosen chosen suffering versus unchosen suffering, and you can choose your suffering. And
100%.
you know, and
I'm a firm believer that we should all be choosing our suffering. Like you talked about the public speaking thing, and I think that's, you may have this fear of public speaking, but ultimately what we're doing right now, like we're public speaking, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's there's eyes on this. So I think you're breaking that down, and what I see in that is taking ownership. When you choose your suffering, you're taking ownership instead of being reactive.
Mm-hmm.
Means you're building the structure, you're setting the course. And I think that what we're fighting right now in the world is we're being told to just let go. It's just give up. You go read a book, it's like capitalism has failed. Just why do we do this anymore? Why do we just take a pill? I'm watching TV. I don't watch TV anymore. I haven't watched TV in years.
I don't either.
Every time I plug back in, I go back to my parents' house.
It's fucking terrible.
They're watching TV. I mean, it's 2/3 of the advertisement is take a pill for this, take a pill for that. What I can tell you is this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, is taking ownership of your body. Western medicine is not going to make you healthy. Western medicine is great if you have trauma. If I break my leg, I want Western medicine. If I have a systemic infection, I want Western medicine. If I have a bad cancer, I want Western medicine. Everything else, I don't want Western medicine, because Western medicine is a hammer looking for a nail.
Yeah.
Okay? It's become, if you go see a doctor, a typical doctor, there are atypical doctors out there, which I'll get in a minute, but your typical doctor is they're gonna prescribe you some type of prescription medicine, probably most likely without doing any testing.
They'll just give it to you.
Just 15 minutes.
Yeah.
There you go. Write a script.
Yep.
Or if you go see a surgeon, they're just a hammer. Oh yeah. I mean, you're just.
That's their profession.
And I'll give you a couple. It's a very personal subject for me. I'll give you a couple examples. In 2014, this is when I really came to this conclusion. In 2014, I've always had issues cramping. And it was because, I don't know, like I always had issues staying hydrated when I was playing sports younger. And it would also manifest if I went out drinking. So like if I went to the gym, had a big sweat, went out drinking, I'd be dehydrated. I would start to cramp up in my diaphragm. So this was happening. It's happened for years. I remember since I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened this one episode really bad when I was in college. And I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, Chris, you should really go get that checked out. You should really go get it checked out. And I was like, fine, I'll go do it. So I went and did a chest x-ray. I did a MRI. And they sent me to an internist who was a surgeon. And he said, well, you know, I'm looking at everything in your chest looks fine. I don't see anything going on there. But I'm looking at your gallbladder, and it looks like it's got some sludge in it. And I was like, okay, what's sludge? He's like, well, it's just thick. You know, the gallbladder holds bile. It's just thicker than you would normally see. It's kind of shown up on the MRI. And I said, okay. And he goes, yeah. And honestly, there could be other things in there. And I recommend that we remove your gallbladder. And I was like, okay, let's talk about the sludge here. What is this sludge? What are the ramifications of it? He goes, well, I mean, you know, like, do you have any symptoms of this? You know, they ask you, it's a lot about digestion. Bile helps break down your food. And I was like, no, I don't have any of these symptoms. So I seem to be asymptomatic. You just seems like you kind of found something, right? And he goes, well, there could be other things in it. I said, what other things could be in there, doc? Well, I don't know. We know there's sludge. There could be precancerous polyps. So I was like, did you see a precancerous polyp? He goes, well, we can't confirm that. And I said, okay, interesting. I was like, well, I'll be honest. I'm looking at the risk reward here. I don't have symptoms of a defective gallbladder. I didn't come in here about my gallbladder. Okay. And yet you want to cut me open. You want to make an incision and remove one of my organs. highly risky for me. To you, it's a Tuesday, right? You're going to do 4 today. Who cares? I'm in this doctor's office, big, nice desk, credentials all over the wall, just me and him. And so we go back and forth. He's like, yeah, I recommend surgery. And I was like, Doc, I'll be honest, I don't see the conclusive evidence that I would be willing to get rid of one of my organs right now. And he looked at me and he goes, I'll be honest, if you were my son, I'd recommend surgery. And I just remember thinking, you're so full of shit. You just tried to close me, bro. You just tried to close me.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't feel genuine.
Yeah.
It did not feel genuine to me at all.
Mm.
And I remember I left, I walked out, and I thought that guy just tried to, he just tried to cut me open. And obviously that was a little bit emotional, right? Like, this is I remember being just so pissed off after that. I was just fuming. I left that hospital. I was like, I can't believe this guy took advantage of his position or whatever. And who knows if he did that? Like, I can't confirm that he was trying to get one over on me, right? I can't confirm it, but I do know he was recommending a surgery in which that I didn't see evidence. So at this time, I was living in Dallas at the time. I moved to Austin about a month later, found a doctor, and I did the same test. I did chest x-ray, MRI, saw a surgeon. Due diligence. I'm doing due diligence. I didn't say there's nothing wrong with me. I was like, I need to check this out. I need to do my due diligence and take ownership of it. This is my body.
Mm-hmm.
And I go see a doctor and we have a consultation and he goes, yeah, it looks like your gallbladder's got some sludge in it. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I mean, it's hard to conclude what's in there. It's just sludge. And I was like, and? I'm waiting for him to I was like, tell me. I'm waiting for him to drop the punchline. And I go, do you think that I need surgery? And he goes, I mean, you could have surgery, but I don't think you need to have surgery. And I was like, okay. I got the answer that I got the second opinion that I didn't need to cut my gallbladder out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what inflames me so much is I was so frustrated about that situation. And the second doctor confirmed that essentially my risk analysis was correct. I didn't need to have the surgery. I could have had it, right? Nobody was going to stop me,
mm-hmm.
but he wasn't pushing it. He knew, he's like, you're healthy. You don't have symptoms. I didn't have symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What I realized and what frustrated me so much is the fact that an average person was sitting in that same office that I was sitting in with that doctor in Dallas, Texas, would have completely folded and have their gallbladder, be put under anesthetic, be cut open, have one of their organs taken out. It's not a big deal to him, big deal to me. I only got one.
Mm-hmm.
I only got one. And what happens if the surgery goes wrong? What happens if there's something wrong with the anesthetic? I'm going to get to that here in a minute because I got another story.
And there's also, if you look at, I've had 2 guests on that are Czech Institute practitioners, which is a more holistic approach,
Mm-hmm.
and they consider the body as like a system of systems. So if you completely get rid of that organ, what other systems are going to be affected?
Yes,
potentially.
Exactly. What's the?
I'm not a medical doctor. I don't have any professional insights or knowledge on this, but it does make you question, like, if I take this out and the surgery goes well, still what's going to happen over the course of the next 20, 30, 40 years if I remove this organ? And people don't think about
You're
that.
the expert of your body. You're the expert
Yeah.
of your body. I'm the expert of my body. Everyone that is watching or listening should be the expert and owners of their bodies. And you should use these doctors as consultants, not the overriding, hey, we're just gonna get this done. And I'll give you another story. So I've always had this, I've had a persistent productive cough since probably 2014, 2015. And I never knew what it was for years. I never paid much attention to it, right? Like every 10 minutes I would cough something up. Never paid too much attention to it because it just became what it was. It never really bothered me that much. And so in 2020, I started to look into it. I was like, this is probably something I should look into.
Yeah.
People around me were also like telling me, hey, you should look into this. So I went down this path. I saw all these different specialists. Nobody could figure it out. I went to a pulmonologist. It's a lung doctor. And I had submitted some samples. Nothing, cultures came back negative. They couldn't figure out what it was. He thought I had an infection in my lungs. So he's like, well, we can do a bronchoscopy and we can go down in there and take a sample. And I was like, okay, great. If that gets me closer to understanding what's going on, great. So I do that super simple procedure. It takes 30 minutes. They put you under and they stick a camera down your throat, tiny camera, it's like a 1/4 inch, goes down your throat, into your lungs, take a sample, grab it, done. So I do that procedure, go home. I feel fine afterwards, little loopy from whatever, the anesthesia. About 4 hours after the surgery, I enter a hellscape. And what I mean was I couldn't move from my couch. I felt my body felt like a wreck. And my mind was it was like my eyes were going to bulge out of my eye sockets. I mean, my mind was on fire. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even close my eyes hardly. And yet I was tired and my body was a train wreck and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And that lasted, I think, 8 to 12 hours. So immediately, I think the procedure was done on a Friday. And when I finally could go to sleep and didn't feel like a human disaster, got some sleep, woke up, I said, I need to figure out what they gave me. Mm-hmm. So I called the doctor up on a Monday morning. I said, hey doc, what'd you give me during that procedure? And he listed off 3 things. First one was some type of anesthesia. Second one was, I think, probably a supplement to that. And the third one, he told me something I'd never heard of, fentanyl. And so I was like, okay. What? So I wrote them down. You gotta understand, I had no idea what these things were. So I said, okay, doc, cool. Wrote them down and did research. I look at first one, nothing, anesthesia, no side effects. Number 2, okay, anesthesia, no side effects. I look up number 3, never heard of it before. I Google fentanyl. First thing that pops up is most potent narcotic on earth, X times more powerful than morphine. And I just sat there and I thought, this guy just gave me something more powerful than morphine. They stuck a 1/4 inch camera down my throat. Mm-hmm. Why on earth would he give me why would he give me morphine? Why would he give me something more powerful than morphine? I know morphine's crazy addictive. It's an opiate. It's incredibly strong. People get addicted to it. Dude. I couldn't believe it. I call him up the next day and I say, doc, hey, I want to talk about those 3 things you gave me. And honestly, I just want to talk about this one you gave me called fentanyl. And I was like, why'd you give that to me? And he goes, well, it's standard. And, some people, when they come to, their throat's kind of scratchy from the procedure. And, we just kind of give it for pain management. And I was like, you give me something more powerful than morphine for pain management? You stuck a 1/4 inch camera down my throat. So at this point, he's starting to get defensive. He's like, this is standard. This is what we do. This is how the procedure's done. And I was like, doctor, that was a mistake. Why on earth would you give me fentanyl? Number 1, can you at least give me notification hey, I'm going to give you an incredibly powerful narcotic? I would have been like, no, you're sticking a tiny camera down my throat. Who cares? I would have told him no. And he didn't give me the option. And then he goes, again, he flexed. This is what I've seen multiple times. He flexed the expert muscle. And he said, Chris, if I didn't give you fentanyl and if we didn't do fentanyl in this procedure, I would consider it malpractice. And I was like, that's such a bullshit line.
Yeah.
You just try to flex on me. And that was such bullshit because, again, tiny procedure, camera down my throat. Dude, I've gone through.
Well, meanwhile, like something that I see all the time, that our governor, Abbott, what he consistently is focused on is defending the border, because there's so much fentanyl crossing the border. And just a tiny smidget is killing people. Just a tiny, tiny bit of fentanyl.
Sickest I've ever been.
Yeah.
Withdrawals. I was going through withdrawals of fentanyl.
Do you know, I'm pretty confident I've heard people, pregnant women are given fentanyl.
That's insane.
It's fucking insane. And people just walk. I'm also passionate about this as well. When it comes to our food, before I got into Bitcoin, like 2017, man, like before I think the start of my self-improvement or like questioning things was, what the fuck's going on with our food system? Why is it, like, there's just so many fucking ill people around me. And so I started questioning everything about our food system. And then that's just, then the money system, then our pharmaceutical industry and all this shit. And it's just, I mean, 2020 was what really just like blew my mind, because it was like, there is so much unnecessary, I don't know, substances, tools that we use in America. And I think it's the abundance that we've had, that abundance of being in a comfort, like, you know, if you go back into the industrial age, I mean, we were the most, because we won the world wars, we were the most successful industrial country in the world. And so then business is booming. People gravitate to the United States to try to find opportunity, the American dream. And so then there's just this constant, like, I think there's a big moment of snake oil salesmen that just consistently or repetitively, the number of just unnecessary things, and how we can make life very simple by just your nutrition.
100%.
And movement.
And so here's the thing. People should really understand. So what I want to preach is own your body, food system. But when you're entering the Western medical system, understand that when you see a doctor, there's almost 100% certainty that they're going to prescribe you a pill. And unless it is an antibiotic treating an infection, I can almost certainly tell you that if you take it for a long time, it's not going to have the effect you want to have. That's pretty much been proven out. And the other thing is, you look at the history of medicine. Look at the history of medicine. There's Alexander Hamilton, famous American, right? Him and his mother went through a bloodletting. So what bloodletting was is they attach, they may cut you, they maybe attach a screw to you. They used to do it to your head if you're crazy in the medieval times. They attach a strap around your head with the screw, and they screw into your head, and they let the blood come out. That's bloodletting. That was a procedure. This is a procedure, right? That's the history of our medicine. It was just guys throwing stuff against the wall. They didn't know. The guy dies, and they're like, well, he was going to die anyway. He was crazy. It's like, no, you just killed him. You drove a screw in his head. Medicine, the history of medicine has so many of those.
Yeah.
And it's not that long ago. Think about Coca-Cola was cocaine, and people took that for cold. Right? Your nose is stopped up. Well, just do some blow. That was a procedure.
Yeah.
And I think understanding the history of things that are being sold to us as, these prescriptive things that are going to help us. You see on a commercial, you got anxiety, take a pill, overweight, take a pill. I know that's another one that's coming out. You're overweight, take a pill. It's like, dude, come on. You're not going to, falling for that is, it's pumped by the media. It's not going to help you. You're not taking ownership. In my mind, you're being more susceptible to the programming that's out there by acquiescing and saying, well, I can't get this done, I'm going to take a pill. And I'm not talking about disease. I'm talking about just, things like anxiety, depression. I can't sleep. I take a pill. I can't lose weight. I'm going to take a pill. I just think that's so prevalent. That's what's pumped out there in the news, in commercials and all of that. And it's not going to take you where you want to go. Have a surgery. I'm going to have a surgery. I know people that I know a guy that, one of my best friend's dad had a back surgery, was never the same, became addicted to opiates afterwards, could never work physically again. He was a home builder, couldn't work afterwards. I remember I had an issue with my knee, and I went to my doctor, and he goes, yeah, I think it's a meniscus. My knee clicks. And he goes, most guys that are been in athletics a long time, this is kind of like what happens. It's pretty normal. And I said, well, what could you do? And he goes, well, I mean, he was like, I can't do anything, but I could send you to an orthopedist. Orthopedist might scope it, do an arthroscopic surgery. I was like, okay. So I went home, Googled arthroscopic surgery. Your meniscus is a cartilaginous padding that sits on top of your tibia. And basically it holds the top of your femur, I guess. And it provides padding. Okay. And when you have a tear, it's like part of it tore off and it's like flapping. So it's like maybe 80% there. And I was like, oh, look at these procedures. Like, what's what's a knee scope look like? What they do is they just take that torn flap and they just cut it off. So now instead of 80%, now I got 60%. Now I got bone on bone. That was the procedure. I'm like, you know what? I'll just deal with it. Mm-hmm. And what I actually did, what's funny, I went in because I was having knee pain at the time, and I looked up knee rehab exercises. What I needed to do ultimately was strengthen the muscles around my knee that I had neglected. And it was gone, dude. It was gone. I went back to running, everything. Yeah. Done. Think about 3 times in my life, could have had my gallbladder taken, could have not been, had gone through fentanyl withdrawals. I could have just gone in and had my knee scoped. I can't even walk now. I'm limping around. I can't run, can't do anything, lost my mobility. Yeah. When you lose your mobility, it's toast. It's over. Yeah. And that's just me. I'm a healthy guy. How about if you're not a healthy person? You enter this system, and now you're just getting chopped up and pilled up. And
yeah. It's scary. It's really scary to see all that. And I actually watched a movie last night for the first time. Because recently I don't watch a lot of TV. I've been pretty productive. It's one of the more productive moments of my life. And I think it's just also maybe a subconscious understanding that like I'm in maybe the prime of my life, like physically, mentally, everything. Like I just feel really good. So don't take advantage of it. And so I used to watch a lot of movies and shows, and I still like to. But I almost felt a little guilty watching a couple like Netflix stuff last night. I was like, I don't feel comfortable like doing nothing. But then I was like, you know what? You've been fucking grinding, so just take it easy. But last night I watched The Imitation Game, and it's a really good movie that it's Alan Turing. Who,
that's a great
essentially
movie.
Created
I love that
the computer. Movie. Yeah, the Turing. And at the very end, it's sad. I mean, I don't. Spoiler alert.
It's a couple years old.
Instead of going to jail because the UK, the British government, the justice system framed him for being like a child molester because he was gay. And then, which I don't believe he ever did. This is in the movie too, so I don't know how hard the facts are here compared to maybe the embellishment of the movie. But he had the option of either going to jail or staying at home, doing something that he was like extremely passionate about, which was creating that computer. But they said, if you go home, you're going to have to do hormonal therapy, like hormonal chemical therapy. And he eventually killed himself, according to the movie. Yeah. And so the reason why I bring that up is because that's something that happened in the 1950s or 60s. And then we're still seeing that. Now we're seeing that the UK, I think, just kind of put a stop on this.
We've turbocharged.
We've turbocharged into children taking, 100%. Not to get too far into this, but we're just talking about maybe what's considered standard for anybody. Oh, you get surgery? That's pretty common. Oh, you get, I don't know, some kind of procedure by a doctor, a pill, whatever. That's common. But now we're telling children to maybe not, I mean, this comes back to like, not being centered, what we were talking about in the past, and like the illusions of your mind and the fear and all this stuff. You've got just a child that hasn't, I mean, they're immersed into a society there's just so much pollution of the mind and pollution of just other aspects of society, in my opinion. and you're telling this kid to take a life-changing procedure.
Telling them it's healthcare.
As little children.
This is healthcare, framed as healthcare.
Right.
This mutilating yourself, pumping yourself full of hormones, it's not healthcare. It's not healthcare.
Yeah.
You're talking about a child, okay, completely not formed. They can take on any information. If you've ever been around a child, they're learning machines.
They're sponges.
They literally are just inhaling information. So you can empower them, put them with good information, or you could pump garbage at them, which is take a pill. Oh, you want to be a girl today? Well, let's take you to the doctor and mutilate you.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, a kid, they're constantly testing you.
Yeah.
You know, like if you have a boy, if he says he wants to be a girl a couple times, it's a bit.
Yeah.
It's a bit.
Yeah.
Right? Like treat it as a bit. He's a child. Don't treat it. Like if your kid came to you and said, you know, he's 10 years old and he's like, I want to drive. You going to let him drive? No, you're not going to let him drive. He's like, I want to get a gun and I want to go shoot somebody. You're not going to let him do that. Why are you going to let him drive the car on getting pumped full of hormones and going through some surgery and then framing it as healthcare? It's complete and utter nonsense. And what it is you don't have the parents in that situation don't have the fortitude to stand up to their kid and provide that structure and say, look, hey, you want to be a girl today? That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And that's all it is. And guess what? He's going to go away. He did his little bit. And now he's going to go because he's going to think about the next thing because 7 seconds later, he's worried about something else because he's a child.
Yeah.
You don't put that. You're honestly taking them down the rabbit hole of that. And that's why I think it's so destructive and insidious is because you're taking him down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We should go see a doctor and all. Dude, that's utter rubbish.
Yeah. And what's scary too is the social pressure that's put on parents. Like if you didn't allow the space and the time for your child to maybe consider this, it's like, oh, we'll take your children. There's been certain jurisdictions in the United States that have actually threatened that to say, we'll take your children if you're not allowing them this opportunity. And it's like, this is, in my opinion, when I saw that, I was like, this is scary.
I would love to know the people that are running that. I'd love to know if they have kids.
Well, have you?
Because I think that's a huge barrier. I think the amount of people that have kids and that really believe in that gender affirming bullshit, I think it's like, you can fit that percentage down between my fingers right now, which is like nothing. But I think a lot of people that don't have kids that are depressed on anxiety, on antidepressants, they're pilled the fuck up.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm on hormones. Come get on hormones with me. They just want misery loves company. And I don't think if you're a cogent, well-intentioned parent, you're not going down that rabbit hole. But I think a lot of people that are running these, type of campaigns, they don't have kids.
Yeah.
Take your kid. Oh, well, you don't have kids. Okay, so you don't really have a dog in the fight. Just like the guy that was trying to take out my gallbladder. It wasn't his gallbladder, so who cares?
And it's
mine. I only got one.
There does seem to be, this is where there's a local in Houston, Ways to Well. That's a business that is trying to maybe create an alternative path to this current Western medical, medicine industry that we're in. And Joe Rogan had the founder of Ways to Well on. And man, I mean, I've watched that twice because this guy used to be a pharmaceutical, like a big pharma rep. And he talks about the intricacies of these incentive systems within big pharma, so pharmaceutical companies, health insurance companies, doctors being pretty much sold. And so there's a financial incentive for this.
For sure.
So, and this is where, I mean, so one, I just wanted to state, I admired the courage for you to even talk about this because a lot of people, even including myself in the past, I questioned even speaking about this stuff because it's so trivial and very, there's like a hyper sensitivity to it right now because it's happening and it's very prevalent. And there's just a lot of the people that are so passionate about it, they themselves are very, very sensitive people. And there's nothing, I think that to a degree, sensitivity can be a superpower, right? Like if you're able to sense, like for me, something that I feel like I'm skilled at, and this is where I intertwine the podcast, is my ability to sense other people's, without even asking them a question, how they're feeling, what they're doing. Some people don't know how to do that, like read the other person well. So having that sensitivity can be like a superpower in a way. But then if you're ultra like sensitive to a farther degree, it can just trample you, and you can make a lot of foolish, fearful, and insidious decisions.
Yes.
And policies or whatever. And so I think it needs to be said, like you need to talk about these kind of things, especially because if I have children and I have like younger siblings that are just about to immerse into their own world. And I think about them all the time. I'm like, you're about to enter a society that's kind of fucking nuts right now in American society. Granted, there's an abundance of opportunity and there's a little bit more freedom, maybe a lot more freedom compared to other countries in the world. So there is some gratitude as well. But like, just talking about this and not being like, I'm too afraid because I think there's going to be a mob, right? And like, maybe that's easier for me to do that right here in the studio just with me and you, right? But if it does go on, like, I'll accept the consequences of people being upset and calling me transphobic or whatever, because I'm just like, you're questioning 100%. All these things that clearly seem like there's some damage. There's some collateral damage that's going to happen to society in the very short term, but intermediate and long term. And so, something that I don't know if you want to like close on anything in this regard, but something that I thought would be cool to transition to is like, okay, the incentive structure of all of these doctors and the pharmaceuticals comes down to our money system. Our money system has been very, very corrupt. Like
100%.
You're wearing a riot hat right now. So it's one of the biggest Bitcoin mining companies.
Can I tell you can I tell you a story about this hat real quick?
Sure.
So the guys that built most of Riot, or at least built Windstone, the big data center out in Rockdale, big Bitcoin mine out in Rockdale, it was 4 guys. One was Chad, one was David, one was Lyle, and I think Chad's son, Ashton. And I've been out there and I've met them before. And I saw David, who was one of the C-level guys at Riot, and he was wearing this hat, and I saw him at the airport.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was like, hey, I know I've met you before. Like, you work at Riot. And so we started talking. And he was like, hey, I got to run, but do you want my hat? And I was just like, sure, dude, I'll take your hat. Sure. And I love this hat. It's one of my favorite hats ever.
That's awesome. I think you might have mentioned that story to me. So we both have we have a similar drive and passion for the Bitcoin industry.
Absolutely.
I know you've dabbled in trying to start your own entrepreneurial path within the Bitcoin mining industry, which is extremely difficult, especially in the time period that we're in. But it's something that, I wrote an article on this, or 2 articles, and it was by way of knowledge. It was like, it just was the most impactful and just heightened cathartic epiphany I've ever experienced in my entire life, just by way of knowledge, not through like a psychedelic. It was literally reading the Bitcoin Standard and seeing and then being in the environment of COVID, the lockdowns, all this stuff happening, and just being connected to like, wow, our money system is like the connective tissue of humanity. And the fact that a very small amount of people have been kind of taking hold of this is what is maybe creating mold and rot within certain other aspects of society. And I think that is just a comment on one clip I saw with Robert Breedlove and this younger kid. This kid was pretty young. He was like out of college. And I think it's really difficult to be a male and a female in the academic institutions in America right now. And he says, everybody knows something's wrong, but everybody's trying to find, or they're finding another boogeyman. Whether it's socialism, they're going towards socialism because they like fuck capitalism, or maybe it's big pharma, or maybe it's this and that. And he's like, at the end of the day, like they kind of conclude and say, this is it. It's the money.
Yes.
And I think that we clearly understand, like we and many other people are starting to understand, but the more and more people that wake up to taking sovereignty with this technology, Bitcoin, being your own bank, it's so fucking powerful. It's extremely powerful. And so like all these, you know, these issues with big pharma and Western medicine overall and our food industry. I mean, like we didn't even get into food, but it's like they feed you the poison and then they provide you with the cure.
Yes,
that's
100%.
That's what
they get you on the way in and on the way out. And money, what money is that's how we assign value to things. Okay, money represents our time, our labor that we spent. If it gets devalued, that means your time's getting devalued. You're being devalued as a human. Okay, what most people don't understand is, you know, the way they used to fight. I love history, so I always look at things in a historical context. And if the kings of England in the Middle Ages wanted to fund a war, they would raise taxes. They'd build, that's why they call it a war chest. Right. They'd go out and raise taxes from all the barons, and then they'd get an army together, and that war chest might last them for 6 months. So they knew, the king's like, we got 6 months to go over there and make stuff happen in France. England, they were always invading France. So they would go into France, and if it wasn't going well, guess what? The barons were like, it's time to go back to the fields. That's how we made our money. We gave you all this money. Things aren't working out. And if things weren't working out, the king couldn't go back and go raise money because the guys were like, look, if things didn't work out, we need to go back to our fields. We need to take care of our people, and we need to go back and get our money right. So there was this mechanism where they couldn't just endlessly spend. The Romans figured out how to do that. They did coin clipping and all that stuff. And that's eventually was their downfall, because you get into this society of this largesse with a very few are just doing weird stuff all the time. You saw it in aristocratic French Revolution. The French Revolution, you know, at Versailles, they were all just hanging out, drinking all day, fucking each other and eating cake. And guess what? They all ended up with their heads chopped off because the people outside were hungry. And France bankrupted themselves. The kings of France had a bad run of like bankrupting themselves. But what we do now is if we want to go, George Bush didn't raise money. He didn't raise taxes to go fight a war in Iraq or Afghanistan. Imagine that. Like, do you think that would go over well? Like maybe Afghanistan after 9/11, maybe you could get some support for that. But Iraq, they'd be like, you want to raise my taxes by 20% to go, you know, find maybe some W&Ds in Iraq? And I think most people would be like, I don't know about that. They would at least question it, second guess. There would at least be a debate. But we don't have to do that because they didn't go out and put it to the people. They just printed the money. And that's how it gets done now. So how do we fund Ukraine? Like, we're giving them billions of dollars. We didn't go out and say, people, what do you think? We're government for and by the people, right? But, you know, not for this, because the decision is unilateral. We print the money, we give it to them. Great. Yeah. Who pay? The government always gets their money. So what happens is taxes. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm telling you, taxes are not going down. They're not going down. Okay. When your government is bankrupting itself, it only has one audience that it can get money from, and it's the people, and that means that they're going to crank up their taxes. Okay, that's what I see in the long term. You look at it, you know, you look at Europe, taxes are much higher in Europe than they are in the US. California, New York, they're higher than they are in Texas. I think that's what you're going to see, is you're just going to see this tax creep, and it may not be income tax. It could be some other tax.
Well, there's
I firmly believe that the government's always going to get its money. It's got to run. It's never shrinking. Also, by the way, there's a story, and I don't know where we are on time.
Yeah, we got time.
Okay.
Yeah, we got time.
There's this, I love history. Okay. So I'm going to go through another historical thing. I was reading this book about, is a biography of Sam Houston. Sam Houston is like the George Washington of Texas. He was the general of the Texan Army in the Texan Revolution. And he was the first president of Texas. Texas was a republic, a country of its own for 9 years. And he grew up in Tennessee. And I remember they were telling the story about in Tennessee, he lived in this town as maybe 5,000 people. And in this town, there was one government official. One. And it was probably like the whole county, like one government official. You look at it now, I don't know what the statistics are, but it's something like 30% of people are like government employed. Think about that now. The creep, that was probably in 1820, the creep of the amount of percentage that is the government, that all funds it, that all plays into raising taxes. They got to fund these people. They got to pay for them. We got to fight these proxy wars. We have to do all this stuff. It's coming from the American people. Yeah. That's where it's all coming from. It's not, I think people, they don't see it in their bank account. They're like, Chris, my number's not going down in my bank account. Yeah. But what's really happening is you're being devalued, and oh, by the way, that's your time. That's what money represents.
Yeah. And there's other, other forms of really maintaining this massive power, besides credit creation or raising taxes. I mean, what's really scary to me is what I observe. This is why I don't go on Twitter anymore, because I see certain things that are not necessarily anything to do with money, but it's like there's some insidious stuff going on with the way the government's acting, or maybe not even the government. It doesn't seem like it's the government, but yeah, it's like, and a lot of people will dismiss it. They're like, oh, that's kind of conspiratorial to talk about. Well, it's like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's just, a lot of things.
COVID was the litmus test. For me, I was not red-pilled before COVID.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Post-COVID,
yeah.
I remember just thinking, so I had this, like, COVID's happening. This is March of 2020. COVID's happening. I'm at the same time, I'm investigating what's going on in my lungs. So I'm like a little sensitive to this. And I remember having a conversation with a buddy of mine. He was a paramedic. And he goes, well, have you had the flu since you've had that cough? And I said, yeah. And he goes, did it affect anything? And I said, no. He goes, okay, then you got your answer. You're good. And that's the logical conversation we had. But I just remember thinking, when the vaccine rollout came, I remember thinking of it like this. The bubonic plague in Middle Ages Europe killed 1/3 of the population. If they had an antidote, if they had a vaccine then, they would have been lining up out the door to take it. There would have been no marketing campaign. There would have been no pressure. They would have just been scrambling to take that freaking vaccine. You saw the complete opposite.
Yeah, this is a
here.
Really good point.
I mean, commercials, mandates. You saw the mayor of New York eating a cheeseburger, talking about how great this cheeseburger is. Like, a cheeseburger is going to make me even move. I mean, maybe it made some people move, but he's obviously, this is a very, like, I look at it, I'm like, if you're trying to sell something, you're a shitty salesman. Okay. It's so obvious. Like, you're not even shrouding what you're trying to do. You're just like putting a cheap veneer on it and saying, well, they're dumb enough and I'm in a position of power, so I can pump it on them.
Yeah.
And I think that was the real litmus test. Something that's effective shouldn't need a marketing campaign. Shouldn't need incentives to give you $1,000. I mean, I know people at work were being offered $1,000, get a vaccine. It's like, dude, why would they need to do that if you really believed that it was what it was?
Yeah.
And I know tons of people. I mean, look, I got a lot of angst from people that I was friends with during that process.
Yep. Yeah.
And I don't need apologies. Like, I know there's a lot of people that are like, we got to get these people to apologize, hold them accountable. I don't want apologies. I don't care. I don't need none of that. What I want is you to do an about face and understand and pull your head out of the sand. Wake up to what's going on, because the pharmaceutical industrial complex plus the government plus the media, they're all the same thing.
Oh, dude.
They're all the same.
So entangled right now.
It's one-sided. It's pumping it at you. You're a captive audience. You have to wake up to that. That's, in that, maybe years ago that would have been conspiratorial, but now I'm just like,
it's so obvious.
It's so obvious. Like,
What's scary too is because younger generations don't get that contrast, right? They're born into all of this. And so they think it's just normal. And, Svetsky?
Yes.
He just calls him the sheeple, which I know some people think it's like derogatory, but it's like, there is a segment of society that is mindless. And what I can say from experience, like this book, The Essential Revolution, it's very impactful. I hope you do get to it soon, because he does talk about this. It's like, you have to constantly say, like, reflect and say, I understand. It's always like coming back with compassion and understanding. But to a certain point, it's like, wake the fuck up. Like you got to kind of, have that balance of like having compassion, but also going back to like the initial part of this conversation. It's like, man, like you need to show by leadership how to be stronger, how to take control.
It's about standing up. It's about standing. Look, the thing is history. I didn't think this was going to become a history podcast, but here we are. So history is such a great teacher for why things are a certain way. If you don't understand history, the reason we have a Second Amendment is not to protect me from my neighbor, it's to protect me from the government. That's what it's for.
In which people could argue nowadays, like the government's got massive amounts of weapons that could, okay, that's true. But at the same time, it's going to be a lot more difficult for a society to be in control. Like if you look at the UK, that only has knives, right? Like they don't have any guns.
It's sovereignty over yourself. So Bitcoin is sovereignty over your finance. You take your health and your nutrition, that's sovereignty over your body. And then if you have a weapon, then you have sovereignty. Like you can control yourself against violence. So because if the government is the only people that have weapons, then they have a monopoly on violence. And we understand where that monopoly goes. Like it's always one-sided. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. We understand that. That's a historical thing. And I think back to the people that don't want to think, it's just all this escapism. Escapism is, I think that's a real problem because you can escape in drinking, you can escape in video games.
Porn
is another one. Junk food. Food is a huge one.
I mean, even your phone.
Oh my God.
I was telling you the other day.
Go down the rabbit hole.
I was telling you the other day, like when I, just to not get too off topic, but like if I wake up and my ideal morning is to not touch this phone for 2 hours. But even if I accomplish that and I start to go in to post a clip for the podcast, it's seriously like a hypnosis machine. Ever since ayahuasca and like just being really intentional with breath work and, you start to have some clarity of mind. Mind and body is like one in a way. And when you get on this thing, man, Tim Ferriss has said it before, he will not have Instagram on his fucking phone because it's like, he knows the engineers. there's a whole documentary on this too, the social dilemma. And like the engineers are like, my kids won't touch this because they have developed it using psychologists and like to make it so addictive.
Yes.
And now I think that I have like this muscle of willpower with my own mind that I can still like utilize it as a tool for the podcast. And then the second I'm like, okay, I've been on this too much. I have this app that just blocks me from using it for 14 hours. And then I go back on it, post a clip, I block it. And so there's all these distractions and like very effective, almost like, Naval's talked about it. Like you have to have extreme willpower and discipline to avoid these things, these endless, infinite amounts of porn online, Instagram, and all these things. And so I understand because I have been there. I have been there's certain times where I drink too much. I had a shit ton of junk food the next day, looked at Instagram all day long, and I felt like I could feel it to a subconscious level, though. I think people can fucking feel it to a deeper level. It's like, I feel terrible. Like I know that I'm just so mindless right now.
Yeah.
And to a degree, it's like, this feels awful.
Well, you talk about willpower, and I don't think willpower is a great way to deal with that. I think it's you do something, you put up a barrier. You're putting up a barrier. You may say it's willpower, but you got an app that cuts it out for 14 hours.
Right.
That's not willpower.
Right.
When I wanted to get my diet right, I didn't buy a bag of cookies and think, actually, sorry, I did buy a bag of cookies, and I would say, well, my diet, I'm getting my diet right, so I'm not going to eat very many.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I was munching those cookies.
Bro, I just
and guess what? When I said I'm not bringing the cookies home, my diet shaped up real nice. Yeah. And that was, and I think that deprivation, this is another thing that I've spent a lot of my own time experimenting with, is depriving myself of certain things. And I don't mean that in like a masochistic sort of way, but like for instance, I remember a couple of years ago, I was drinking a couple cups of coffee a day, and I had this moment where I just slugged one, and it didn't do anything for me. And I was like, that's not supposed to happen.
Mm.
And I remember thinking, okay, I need to, like, I am desensitized to coffee, so I need to figure out, and I need to take a break from it. So I took a 7-day break from caffeine. And I remember the first couple of days were very foggy, difficult. I remember that first day afterwards, it was difficult. But I took a break for 7 days. When I had that first cup, I didn't even drink a cup. When I had that first sip after 7 days, it was like riding a rocket.
Yeah.
I was riding a rocket ship, like, this is the best, caffeine's the best.
Yeah.
And back to that, and I set it up like that. And willpower, one of my favorite quotes about willpower or motivation is with Zach. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever seen this video, but Zach, I'm talking about Zach Hummel for the folks that are watching, but he's got this great clip. He was on a podcast where he goes, you know, people ask me, how are you motivated? How are you so motivated? And he goes, motivated? I'm not motivated. I'm committed. I'm committed. I'm going to work 12 hours a day, and then I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours a day because I've made commitments. It's not about motivation. I don't have any motivation. I'm dog tired. I don't want to go to the gym. I made a commitment. And that's what you're doing when you're, you know, when you're using your phone, or you're going to the gym, you know, you're cutting yourself out of social media, or you're saying, look, I'm going to get off these antidepressants, or you're like, I'm going to put down the junk food or the alcohol. That's a commitment. If you think willpower is going to work, willpower will not. Willpower is so susceptible. Yeah. Because you're leaving an opening. Don't leave the opening. Just go.
Yeah. Well
Just
said.
Go for it.
Well fucking said. Yeah, I've made a commitment to myself to not have any booze for 6 months. I said to myself, well, it's been 6 months, but I said to myself,
well, dude, congratulations on that. That is,
thank you.
I mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
A lot of social pressure around that.
Yeah. And it's actually been very easy. And I think that's because of the friendships like with you and with Nate and with Jay and with other people here in Squatch. And also, like, I'm kind of busy. Like, I'm doing the 9 to 5 with Unchained, and then I'm doing this. Like, I'm recording today with you. We were at Squatch for 2 hours before. Doing it tomorrow again. I do this every single weekend, right? So I've put myself into a position where it's like, it's not hard. But when I go back home, damn, it was. I mean, I was actually very happy and proud of, like, it was much easier than it's ever been. Like, I had my sister's her grad party, and so everybody was drinking. But what was amazing is my parents, without even me saying anything, just kind of showed a couple non-alcoholic like tonics. And I never said anything about not drinking anymore. Like, I eventually did, but they like brought it out, and they did this on their own, which is in contrast to like when I was first immersed into Tim Ferriss, and I was like, oh my God, there's so much things we could do to better our lives. I was kind of like telling them what to do. And my buddy River was like, as soon as you do that, even though it's probably with good intention, with a good heart, you know, you're doing it out of love, you're telling that person that they're not good enough for your reality. And I didn't fucking realize that.
That's hard. It was I battled that myself.
It was always just so tough. So now, yeah, it is like committed to leading by example, and it's been working. And it's been, I mean, my life has changed drastically. And, you know, I've said to a few people, it's like, I don't know if I'll drink again. Maybe I will. It's not this like really hard aversion, but it's been, well, one, like physically, I've had immensely the most amount of energy I've ever had, because I'm not really hungover or whatever. But also, yeah, it's just saying it like, okay, I haven't drank in 2 months or 3 months. It's like, okay, I've been committed. Now that I'm committed, I'm going to stay with that, right? And to the point of willpower, I haven't really been in environments where it's tested me too. But for the most part, but I think that, yeah, depriving myself of that, and I've been going like every other day without coffee.
And another thing is like, you start to, our body is so smart, it gives us signals.
Yeah.
Okay, my body was telling me, Chris, you're having too much caffeine.
Yeah.
You're having way too much caffeine. Yeah. And then when I came back to coffee, my body's like, wow, I love this. So like, it's listening to our bodies. There's stimulus that's internal to us with our bodies, but there's also stimulus that's external. That's information.
Yeah.
It's all making us. I highly recommend just what you're doing with social media is you're blocking it out, and you're allowing your own internal frame to develop. If you're constantly taking in information from somebody else, you're going to become them. You have no person. You're just this malleable blob that's just going to be shaped by, hopefully you're consuming positive information. Maybe you're not, though. But will you even really, at that point, if you don't have your own opinions, you're just parroting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of getting, that's kind of the era we're in now, is parroting. One of the things that I did when I got off caffeine and I got off, like I've spent many months off of alcohol, you just realize what it does to you, instead of just thinking, oh, well, I'm going to drink, and not actually taking inventory of how you're feeling or the signals that you're receiving. So understanding your body in a way that you can receive those signals and interpret them and think about them, and then understanding how you can feel your emotions when you're reading something. Like I got off Twitter earlier this year. I love Twitter. I got off Twitter because I would get on there and I would just get FOMO. I was like, everybody's talking about these great things and I want to talk about them too, but I just was busy at the time and I just got FOMO, and I just thought, man, I just need to get off this, because I would have anxiety during the day and think about, well, what do I, like I'm not doing certain thing.
Yeah.
And I just realized, I just thought there's a lot of good stuff on Twitter. There's a lot of bad stuff. I'm not against Twitter at all, but for me, I needed to take a break from it because it was starting to creep into areas of my life.
Yeah. For me, it's a little bit of FOMO as well, but also like fear mongering too, or doomsday scenarios. Cause I've got certain feeds, it's like Bitcoiners on Twitter. It's tons of Bitcoiners. So it's just like, they just show you what's happening. And it's like, well, it is happening. That's not, it's not something to ignore at times. But it's like, you can only do so much, right? And you keep working.
Can you act on it? Like, and that's what goes back to mission. You talk about mission. Well, I mean, is me having FOMO part of my mission? No.
Get the fuck out of
here. Get out of here. Done. Is me bitching about how I'm feeling part of my mission? No, I can't, because the truth is that the truth is that if we are trying to do hard things worthy of doing, it's going to take a lot more than we think. You're going to need to get rid of a lot of stuff and make the sacrifices and make it happen. And you will only get that thing when you've paid the price. There's no 50% of it, right? It's all of it. And so that's one of the things where I've learned, like I've had different entrepreneurial ventures. I've had some success, some failures, but I look back on it and the ones that didn't work, it was like,
it's the best thing. I mean,
it was because I wasn't fully bought in. Right. Like I wasn't focused. I didn't have a mission. It was just a thing I did, Yeah. And we all tend to get into these things. It's a very natural thing to get into things where you don't really have a real conviction in it. And as I've gotten older, I've just kind of I've let a lot of that stuff slide, because I'm just like, the mission's the mission.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what, if you want to accomplish anything worth doing, that's what it's going to take. Especially now, like especially in this era of chaos where there's constant information everywhere and you're going to be pulled in tons of different directions, and it just becomes, we become more fractured and fragmentalized. It makes it only harder. But if you are the one that can hold that center and just keep executing on what you're trying to do, you're going to stand out, because everyone else they're in this FOMO land, this soup of just kind of like, well, I do this thing that I don't really like that much. And then, on the weekends, I just slug, a 12 pack.
Yeah.
And then, I feel like shit on a Sunday, and, and then then it's Monday.
And people hate Mondays and they're fearful for those, right?
Another case of the Mondays. Like, dude, Monday for me, I'm ready.
I'm ready to go. I'm ready every day. And I think a great way to frame just the social media, because it's something that comes to my heart as well when I see friends or family on their phones all the time. I'm a victim of being on my phone a decent amount sometimes too. I think that you put it pretty pretty impactfully when you're just scrolling all the time, when it gets to points where you're doing it, even 1 hour is a lot of time, but 1 to like 4 hours, people, that can be an average for some people. When you're doing that, you are not developing your character.
No.
You're literally just taking in, I mean, it can help with certain, like there's certain Cam Hanes and Joe Rogan, Chris Williamson clips that are just like, fuck yeah, let's go.
If you watch a Cam Hanes clip or a Joe Rogan clip or whatever and you get fired up,
that's great.
That's great, but you need to go act.
You got to go act and go execute.
You can't just watch 1,000 Cam Hanes clips and go, I'm Cam Hanes.
But this is, and yeah, and this is for the people that are always on it. I mean, they just are so, like you are losing time. You're losing time to shape and sculpt who you are.
The most precious resource we've got is time. Literally, full stop, full stop. You can make money over and over again if you dedicate your time to it and figure it out.
Yeah.
One thing you cannot get back is time. You cannot get time back. And I think that's really the underlying force of what, you know, why I try to constantly get better and try new things. I'm like, you know, the clock's ticking, man.
Yeah.
We've only got one life, and that's the truth. And I could sit there and pout about it. It's like, man, I just can't do everything. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, it's the truth, and it's just time to get busy.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that I come back to a lot is like, where am I spending my time? You know, when I was not as focused, my time was all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, I'm watching sports all the time, going out drinking all the time. You know, I've lived that life, man. Like I've lived that life and I've lived this other life. I can tell you, there's no desire, none. I can tell you, going out, drinking and partying sounds like the lamest thing on earth to me. Like I just can't even imagine it. And I don't, you know, that's just the truth, man. Like I can't, you know, I'd much rather wake up, come to Squatch, crush an ice bath, pull some sleds, do a podcast with you than do that stuff. You know, that's what's fun for me now.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what I'm chasing versus that other stuff. I've been there. I tried it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've been there too. And I think that contrast is kind of important. It's a part of obtaining wisdom. Like you embody going out on 6th Street and getting hammered, and then the next day you're just like no motivation, nothing. You don't want to do anything. You feel like shit. And yeah, just like even not going to the gym or just eating like shit, you start to because you've done it in the past, you recognize in the past, yeah, I know it's been a big motivator for me now, but I really like how you highlighted your commitment to or Zach's statement of motivation versus commitment. It's kind of, yeah, it's very interesting how he answered it in that way.
Well, it's because you can think about, that's another excuse is, well, I'm not motivated. How do you get the motivation?
You're not going to always be motivated.
Chris, how do you get the motivation?
Yeah.
Cam, how do you get the motivation? Zach, how do you get the motivation? It's like, motivation's not a secret, dude. It's like motivation in their mind is a pill. It's a magic pill that I take every morning that makes me blast out of bed. It's not, dude.
Yeah.
It's a commitment. It's a commitment. And it's just work. It's just work. People don't want to hear that, man. People don't want to hear that. It's just work. It's just every day, stack days together, stack a day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, stack 4 of them together, stack 5, stack 50.
Dude, it feels so good.
That's the thing. When you start just stacking them, it's like clockwork. Things just start to fall into place. But when you're stopping and starting, I used to work out. So my previous workout routine was I would go to the gym a couple days a week, and then sometimes I'd go crazy hard. If I felt really good, I'd go crazy hard. I'd hurt myself. So one body part I'd be down for a couple weeks. I didn't have really any direction. And this is the thing, you know, one of the topics that I love is tapping into people's expertise. Everything changed when I started running Zach's program because everything was planned out. I'm literally getting coached by an expert. I have the commitment. I'm like, I'm committed to be in this, 6 days a week. This program says 6 days a week. I'm committing to 6 days a week. And I'm looking at the program. It's just variety. It's hard. It's creative. This is a Zach Hummel program. A guy who lifted 700 pounds, strong man, been through the built this program probably because he ran it 100 times and like figured out what worked, what didn't work. And I ran it, and I can tell you, instead of me going to the gym and wondering what am I going to do, what am I going to do, and just wasting that time, just like pull up my phone. I'm doing Tuesday. It's week 10. We're doing legs, and it's a ton of different stuff, and I'm just going to get better. And like, that's what that allowed me to do, is it allowed me to compress the time instead of me trying to figure things out. And like honestly, I probably wouldn't have even done it. My routine would still probably be pretty scattered.
Well, also if you're there for too long, I mean, there's I was talking to my buddy River about this. Your hormonal system after a certain amount of time, it gets you can't ramp it up too much. Like if you're at the gym for 3 hours, full blast, it's probably not helpful.
Yeah, you're not doing anything else for the rest of the day.
You should try it. Like you're wrecking yourself though, but in a like detrimental way.
Yes. And just to clarify, I'm like, people may wonder, well, how long are you in the gym, Chris? I can tell you how long I'm in the gym. Usually 45 minutes.
Yeah, same. It's been
usually 45.
Yeah.
Saturdays is my fun day.
Yeah.
Saturdays is my fun day where I'll do an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I usually don't do a program on Saturday. I let myself be creative. Yeah. What I wake up, feel like doing. And that's my treat. Every other day, I'm like a robot, and it's 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's just consistency always wins over intensity. No plan, have a plan, be consistent. The results take care of themselves.
Whoo! Yeah, that's I think a great message for every human being, especially today with the modern distractions and what we were just discussing. I mean, it's very, very you just and yeah, there is that, like, you go to the gym, maybe you have that consistency or that protocol set, but maybe you don't have the why. And so, like, for me, when I was showing up every day with you, Nate, Jay, for me, it was just like, I need to feel, it was just like I think it's like just kind of empowering my soul. Something was wrong. Like I could feel it, this longing. My buddy Brandon was on the last episode. It's like this longing of my soul is crying out for something. And I've just put this off, comfortable, just environment. And going to the gym physiologically makes me feel better. So then I think better. I'm gaining better relationships. Now I can actually, now my mission is the podcast. I didn't know I was going to do this maybe a year ago, but now it's like, okay, I go to the gym so I can have clarity of a sharp mind. And to take this with some, like, you don't want to take things too seriously, but also still maintain a healthy balance of being earnest with what you're saying, So it's just like that now it's like, oh, well, I'm going to the gym for that now. But then it's like, it could also be, oh man, I flipped out on my wife the other day and lashed out in front of my 2-year-old daughter. Never want that to happen again, regardless if it was my fault or whatever. I didn't own it. I mean, at the end of the day, I think extreme ownership is where it's at. But yeah, I mean, having that why, I think, is like really important. And maybe a lot of people nowadays, because we're just like constantly flourished with so much shit.
I want to talk about a couple things that I've been doing recently that have been super helpful for me.
Sure.
I started writing down my goals every day.
Like long term or?
It's more short term.
Okay.
So like probably more 6 months to a year. And I think the preeminent ones are 6 months to a year. Maybe there's some more long-term ones in there. Every day, I just come back to it every day. I write it, I read it. That's been really helpful for me. I've never tried that before. I've always had goals, right? I've always been a goal-oriented person, but
doing it every day.
Maybe maybe I do goals New Year's Eve or something, or maybe like the last week of the year, and then I don't even revisit it.
Right.
And now it's like I have to see that thing every day.
Yeah.
And I got to take, what did I do to execute against that every day? And that little habit, plus I started journaling about gratitude. I do one beautiful moment a day.
Dude, I used to do that as well.
And I actually, I didn't write about it last night. But because I built this habit in my head, I was thinking
You're
about
already
it
doing it. Yeah.
right when I was going to sleep. And I was like, it was like my body, this idea came as like, hey, what are you thankful for? And I was like,
Oh,
I just thought about it. And I just thought, wow, that's so cool
This
that
is
I just
great.
trained
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
I just trained myself over the course of a couple months to have gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Because previously, and I don't think I'm alone in this, I could have some victim mentality. Oh, it's bad things happening to me. Things aren't going my way. When I journal about gratitude every day,
There's no room for it.
I'm battling that. That's the good fighting against the negative.
Mm.
And making that a daily habit has been, I think that's really helped me. Just having those, stacking those little habits. Another one is I like to text people in the morning now. You know, I'll shoot out a good morning text to some folks.
Mm.
And that's, you know, it's just putting a little bit of, bit of love in the air.
That's
you
good.
Know what I'm saying?
That's good, man. I should probably do that as well. I love that. Yeah, I did the 5-minute journal years ago when I was like trying to get off maybe kind of like a rock bottom. You know, just like, dude, I just felt terrible. And just doing that every day. I think it was 3 points of gratitude, 3 points of like affirmations, and then 3, I think, things you're looking forward to or something. Yeah, I forgot what it was, but after doing that consistently every single day, you do notice, like the first time you notice, you didn't have to write it down. It just kind of comes up.
It comes to you.
You're just like, oh
built
shit.
it.
Yeah. It people might think, what the fuck am I writing this down for? It's so stupid. But it's, and like manifestation too, like manifesting something into your life. If you say, I want a house full of love with a beautiful wife and kids, like that's your dream goal or whatever. And every single day you write that down, you start to your ego starts to plan around that. Like, what do I need to do to get that?
You start to think about it instead of at a surface level.
Yeah.
Like maybe the first 3 days you write it down and it's just a thing on the piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually it's going to seep into your head and your head's like, oh, well, you want to make such amount of money or you want to have a beautiful wife and kids. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're a bum. You know, like a bum's not going to have a beautiful wife. So I better do something about it.
Yeah.
You know, my goal is to lose 20 pounds. And well, right now I just slugged a bag of Cheetos. That's not going to work. So you your mind will eventually start to put up these little barriers around that. And it's, if you write it down enough, you'll start to think about it and execute on it. And you don't want to write it down emptily, right? You don't ever want to do anything just to do it. You want to, what am I executing on and what is my plan of action to get this way?
Well said. I think that's a great way to conclude. I just want to give you the opportunity to maybe shout out where people can find it. If not, if you don't want to shout out, if you don't have certain places to, like your Twitter or your Instagram, or whatever, or website, or you could just answer a certain question, like, what would you put on a billboard for society, like right now? But yeah, you can do both. Okay,
so this has been a blast, by the way. This is so much fun.
Dude, it's flowed so that most of my episodes have been great, almost all of them. This is going to be like 29 or 30. There's usually certain pockets of like episodes I do where it's just so fucking flows so well. And this is dude,
we just hit this was great. I had so much fun. This is incredible.
You're more than welcome to come back on again in the future too.
Dude, I will take you up on that 100%. Yeah. You can find me. I'm at Chris P Mac 08 on Instagram. I'm at Chris Mac _08 on Twitter. And the billboard, I think, is life is tough. Deal with it.
Okay. I like it.
This is what it is. Embrace it. You can own it.
Mm-hmm.
You just talked about programming yourself. Like you can, instead of being programmed by somebody else, you can program yourself.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah, it resonates with what I was describing about Jay in the thunderstorm of the park and just saying life is difficult. And, it was just a cinematic moment. So I love it, man. But thank you so much for coming on, man. It's meant a lot. And I look forward to just our paths, how we develop as men going forward, but also having you on the podcast again in the future.
Thank you, bro. This has been a pleasure. I see you showing up every day. It's an inspiration, man. That's what the thing that I love about you and Jay and Nate. You guys inspire me. That's why I love to hang around you guys. You're the best. I love you guys.
Love you too, man. All right.
Peace.